All right, today we're going to talk about a soccer team from Utah with, let's be honest, one of the most confusing names in American sports, Real Salt Lake. It's a fantastic story about some pretty bold branding, a really tough start, and an unbelievable climb to the very top.
So let's just get right to it. The question that has probably made you scratch your head more than once. Why on earth is a team in Salt Lake City using a Spanish royal title? It just feels random, right? Well, there's a really interesting story behind it.
Okay, so first, you have to know where the name comes from. The word real, and you say it like real, is Spanish for royal. In the soccer world, that is a huge deal. It's a super prestigious title that Spanish monarchs give to clubs, and the most famous one, of course, is Real Madrid. It's a stamp of honor, a real mark of class.
Now, this wasn't some name they pulled out of a hat. Back in 2004, the team's original owner, Dave Checketts, had a very specific plan. He wanted a clean, simple, European-style brand that would really stand out. He was even hoping it might lead to a partnership with the legendary Real Madrid, a club he loved not just for its soccer team, but also its basketball team, which connected back to his own background with the Utah Jazz.
But, at first, the name did not go over well, at all. People in the community had suggested more, let's say, traditional names, like the Highlanders or Salt Lake SC. So when they announced Real, a lot of people thought it was just weird and didn't fit the city at all. It was going to take a long time for the team to really earn that name and make it their own.
So how did things kick off? Well, let's just say the first few years on the field were about as rocky as the debate over the name. I mean, building a team from absolutely nothing is tough, and for RSL, the growing pains were severe.
So let's just get the basics down. The team was founded in 2004. They play in Major League Soccer. You'll hear them called the Claret and Cobalt because of their colors. They actually started playing in 2005, and man, was it a rough start.
How rough, you ask? How about an 18-game stretch without a single win? 18 games. That is over half a season without a victory. For their first couple of years, they were just consistently one of the worst teams in the whole league. A really brutal beginning for a club with such a grand-sounding name.
But then came the moment that changed everything. The entire direction of the club was about to shift, and it all started with a move that was, honestly, almost unheard of.
Okay, you gotta hear this. Jason Kreis, who was literally the first player the team ever signed, retired from playing one day and became the head coach the very next day. He went from being a teammate in the locker room to being the boss overnight. It was a huge gamble, but it turned out to be the exact thing the club needed.
With Kreis in charge, things started changing, and fast. The team brought in absolute cornerstones like goalkeeper Nick Rimando and midfielder Kyle Beckerman. They opened their own beautiful stadium, and by 2008, for the very first time, they made it to the MLS playoffs. You could feel that the foundation was finally in place.
And this, my friends, is where the underdog story just goes into overdrive. From being the league's laughingstock to a real contender, the stage was now set for one of the most unlikely championship runs in the history of the league.
The progress was just incredible when you look at it. 2007, Kreis takes over. 2008, they're in the playoffs. And then in 2009, after they barely scraped into the playoffs on the last day of the regular season, they just went on this miracle run. 2009, MLS Cup champions. Real Salt Lake, the team with that weird name that couldn't win a game to save its life just a few years before, was suddenly the best team in the entire league.
And they did it as the ultimate underdogs. I mean, they were the lowest-seeded team in the playoffs. They had to go on the road and beat the star-studded LA Galaxy, a team full of superstars. And they did it. They won.
So was that 2009 championship just a fluke? A lucky run? Nope, absolutely not. The very next year, they came out and showed everyone they were the real deal, playing some of the best soccer the league had ever seen.
Their 2010 season was just pure domination. They went on a 25-game unbeaten streak. They didn't lose a single game at home all year long. They weren't just champions anymore. They were an elite powerhouse, and their players were getting recognized as the best in the league.
But, after you climb the mountain, the next challenge is trying to stay there. And for Real Salt Lake, the years that came after were full of really high-quality soccer, but also some absolutely heartbreaking near misses. The 2013 season is the perfect example of this. They made it to two massive finals, the League Championship, the MLS Cup, and the US Open Cup, and they lost both of them.
It was a season of just incredible play that ended in double disappointment. It just goes to show you how thin the line is between winning and losing at that level.
And of course, that golden era eventually had to come to an end. Coach Jason Kreis left after that 2013 season. The core group of players that won the championship started to retire or move to other teams, and by 2015, for the first time in 8 years, the team didn't make the playoffs. It was truly the end of an incredible chapter.
So when you see this crest today, it really stands for so much more than just a soccer team. It's the story of a name that sounded totally out of place, but became a real badge of honor. It's the story of a team that went from the very bottom to the absolute peak and carved out a completely unique and unforgettable identity for itself.
And that kind of leaves us with the big question for the future, right? The team has rebuilt, they've got new players, new coaches. After tasting what it's like to be at the very top, the challenge is pretty clear. Can the team that took the name of royalty find its way back to the throne?